The bells of Whitby Abbey tolled wildly through the fog-shrouded dawn of 867 AD, their frantic peals slicing the chill air like desperate prayers. But mercy had already fled. In the pre-dawn gloom, the sleek dragon-prowed longships had slipped silently into the harbor, disgorging waves of fur-clad Norse warriors who scaled the walls like specters. Inside the sacred precincts, chaos erupted, screams echoing off ancient stone as defenders fell to axes and swords. Sister Elfgeofu, a fragile bloom of just 17 summers, had pledged her vows to Christ a mere 3 months prior. From her narrow cell in the dormitory, she heard the first cries, guttural shouts in a foreign tongue, the splinter of wood, the wet thud of blades meeting flesh. In that instant, her cloistered world shattered. She knew death loomed, not swift and merciful, but something far more profane. For the Vikings who stormed Whitby sought no mere plunder of gold or relics, though they claimed those too. Their true quarry was infinitely more precious in the brutal calculus of their world, lives that could toil, bear fruit, and fetch fortunes in distant markets. They hungered for the women. What befell Elfgeofu and the 32 other nuns seized that fateful morn was no aberration of war's frenzy. It was the cold machinery of an empire built on chains, a deliberate harvest of human souls, woven into the very fabric of Viking expansion. These raiders didn't merely pillage for fleeting spoils, they orchestrated a vast engine of trafficking, funneling women into webs of bondage, forced breeding, and erasure that spanned from the fjords of Norway to the sun-baked bazaars of Baghdad. Monastic chronicles, penned by trembling survivor monks, capture the raid's visceral horrors: flames devouring timber halls, altars smashed and saints profaned, brothers hacked down in pools of their own blood. Yet on the fate of the vanishing women, those ink-stained pages fall eerily mute. That void screams truths too raw for parchment, a deliberate hush over degradations deemed unfit for holy eyes. Tonight, we pierce that silence. Beyond the silver screen myths of horn-helmed berserkers and operatic clashes, lies a grimmer saga, institutionalized horror, where women were not spoils of battle but tradable assets, appraised like prime livestock for youth, allure, fertility, and forgotten talents. From the thrall auctions of Dublin, where flesh was prodded and priced, to the opulent harems of the caliphs, where flaxen-haired captives fetched sums rivaling kingdoms, from the wind-lashed steads of Iceland, where generations toiled unseen. This is the unvarnished chronicle of Viking predations on the captured, a system where the aftermath eclipsed the assault, reshaping Europe's bloodlines through calculated cruelty. The strategic harvest: why monasteries burned. The sack of Lindisfarne in 793 AD didn't merely jolt Christendom with its savagery, it exposed the raiders' predatory precision. Skirting richer manors, the Vikings zeroed in on an isolated monastery. Why? The answer unveils a ledger of flesh. Such havens pooled the era's most lucrative prizes: unwed, unburdened women of robust health, versed in letters, their chastity a seal of untapped worth. In the Viking thrall economy, these traits inflated value like alchemists' gold. The 10th century Arab scribe Ibn Rusta chronicled the bazaar's brutal math: a hale male laborer might barter for 30 silver dirhams, a artisan, 50. But a comely maiden? She opened bids at 100, double for the unremarkable. Beauty tripled it to 300, nobility, literacy, and virginity could soar past 1,000 dirhams, a lifetime's hoard for most Northmen. This fiscal alchemy turned banditry into blueprint, raids morphed from whimsy to warrant, scouts mapping convents like merchants charting trade winds. Irish annals whisper of ambushes synced to feasts, when maidens flocked to chapels, bridal processions waylaid for their veiled troves, whispers from turncoat kin pinpointing noble daughters veiled as novices. No coastal hamlet was random, every strike a ledger entry in the grand trafficking ledger. From chaos to commodity, the processing line. Capture ignited a grim assembly, no haphazard bundling aboard keels, but triage with traitors' dispassion. Teeth bared for age, palms scanned for toil's scars, hymens probed in rituals veiled by chroniclers' queasy ellipses. Talents assayed, looms rhythm, quills grace, lutes sigh, each a premium atop the base. The odyssey to auction demanded stewardship, segregated births warded off conceptions, swollen bellies slashed virgin prices, birthing a gamble on lives, rations richer than for men, lest gaunt cheeks dent bids, irons and watchers curbed self-wounds, for marred hides fetched scraps. Viking vendors mastered the bazaar's whims, raven tresses prized in sun-kissed ports, where gold locks seemed fable, platinum plates premiums in califal courts, rarities from misty isles sapling girls warehouse till bloom, groomed for peak coin, matrons rerouted to drudgery's niche, midwifery's steady hand, shuttles weave, hearths command. Fleets bespoke for freight, bellies low-slung for cargo, ports ringed with stockades at Whitby, Dublin, Burka. Larder caches flanked routes, merchant webs snaked from fjords via Russ rivers to Byzantium's gates and Abbasid vaults, each link skimming its tithe from the living toll. Thralls of the North, bondage's ironclad code. When Elfgeofu, seasick and sightless after an eternity in the Hold's reek, staggered onto Norway's frostbit strand, she crossed into thrallhood, a caste as bedrock to Norse life as jarls or gods. Thrall, the ancient tongue named it, not mere serfdom, but ontological melody, comprising 25 to 30% of Scandinavia's folk, higher still in Iceland's wilds. Gragas, the Isle Realm's codex, etched the verdict: thralls were chattel, pawned, gifted, cold sans reprisal. Harm 1. Indemnify the lord for dented wear, not the wretch for woe. Noblesse to null in a breath's gasp. Female thralls tiered in torment's taxonomy: Ambat, the workhorse; Dea, dairy drudge, churning wealth from milk; Saeta, bed slave, body tendered to host and hall. Dawns cracked with their yoke, kindling hearths against gales that could freeze kin alive. There's the peril's portion, slaving over pots whose leavings they licked last, looms birthing finery they'd freeze sands. They nursed whelps not theirs, birthing their own to chains. Carnal Clain was right, not rupture, Edda's murmur of sires summoning Saetas, youths blooded on ambats, wayfarers proffered flesh as board. Digs unearthed the grim annexes, huts dim and doorless, for easy ingress. Spawn from such unions? Thralls by default, unless sired claimed them, and self-fined for lost asset. Legitimates lorded over half-blood kin, siblings in vain, strangers in law, a dynasty's fracture. Psyche's siege was subtler savagery, corns ground grain to grip backs, orger mulched fields, filthiest fates for the forsaken. Yet hierarchy's hook, a sun-bearer might glean crusts more, a deft hand oversee kin wretches. Thus, the bound begot bondage, aspirations lure quelling revolt. Apex atrocity, pyre's toll. Ibn Fadlan's vulgar rite recounts a thrall girl dosed to delirium, then throttled and skewered for her master's shade, banality underscoring ubiquity. Bazaar of broken dreams, markets of the Northmen. Hedeby's mart thrummed daily, save deep winter's bite, a carnival of callousness, platforms groaning under nude multitudes, pawed like herds. No furtive deals, this was spectacle, badge of Norse acumen. Dublin's 9th century emporium dwarfed peers, Ireland's annals logging 871's pens, probes, drills and values forge. Ulster's tomes tally 951's harvest, 3,000 souls funneled yearly, bespoke bounties, linen lasses, Latin nuns, fertile fields of 20. Excavations etch the apparatus, Liffey-side stockades, palisade chutes sorting arrivals like chaff, breaking barns where wool crumbled in calibrated dark, starved 3 weeks, lashed twice, brand thrice, Mamus finale, values veto on excess. Yield, Norsemen's patois for hall slaves, Arabic obeisance for souks, nobles' heirs retooled for pleasure. Healers mended not from grace, but guilt, cull the consumptive, cull the crop. Hope's sabotage, kin sundered, manumission's mirage dangled then dashed. Laxdale's Melkorka, snatched Irish royalty, rechristened thrall, mirrors the right, name flayed, ambat, or new snow for hue, faith flouted, horseflesh gulped gainst creed, vespers warped device, garb gashed and garbaged, swap for thrall rags, tongue lashed to Norse, isolation's lash. Ransoms and relics, nobles and nuns in chains. Not all bartered to blankness. Highborn stangled in diplomacy's dragnet. Ulster notes 941's Hall of Muirchertach MacNeil's Queen and Heir, tolling not coin but fealty, fiefs, fefmans. 3 years limbo, treatment tied to terms, tools of thronecraft, scripted pleas penned as psyops. Protocols parsed cultures, Gaelic gold hoards versus Frankish finery, gestures groveling for gain. Convents crown the calculus, virgins versed, vowed, vendible, exotica in a mare's eyes, barbs to the cross. Coldingham's 867 Blaze birth legend, Abbas Ebba's blade-wielding flock slashing faces to foul appeal, torched in reprisal. Scouts stalked schedules, novice influxes, abbess pedigrees, for prophets' piety purge. Nuns' novelties, habits ludend, litanies lewd. Their theft gutted lore's looms, healers' havens, forcing faith's flight inland, faith's fray eternal. Isles of endless night, Ireland and the East ravaged. Ireland bled deepest, annals a litany of loss, 821's Hoath Hall, 830 Six's Dublin dragnets, 847's Leinster legions. Coasts cowered, bells babble, Vikings staccato summoning cellars, crannigs, copses. Youth wed hasty, lest lone lasses lure, transient troths to truncate shame. Kings kidnapped rivals kin for Viking vigs, turncoats traded tidings for tribute. Genes gasped the graft, Norway's matrilanes Celtic kissed, Era's yarns Norse tangled, thrall trysts trace. Slavlands suffered shadow scribed, slave from Slav, Russ rivers reaping realms. Tale of bygone years tallies sweeps sand sanctuary, Ibn Rusta's barracks, chains casual. Dnieper drifts bore the bound, Volga vaults their vice, portages parades, packs on backs. Byzant's thirst slaked Slav snow, convoys catalogued by caliph's fancy, hundreds huddled, Fadlan flinching at the fleet's facility. Hearths of hollow victory, life in the longhouse. Final ports promised no peace, Iceland's isles, Norway's halls, Sweden's steadings, thrall tombs all. Digs disclosed the dens, earthen hutches, herd packed, heat hungry. Routines relentless, fires fanned prepale, pottage portioned penultimate, corn's dirge, distaffs drone, 18-hour eternities till collapse. Carnal claim ceaseless, sires, scions, strangers serviced sans say. Sagas skim the scourge, euphemisms eliding endemic rape. Offspring? Odds grim, freed if favored, self-find, else eternal underlings to uterine twins. Beatings by law, killings costless, isolation ironclad, bonds barred, betrayers boosted. Mind's minefield, shock salvo, tongues tangled, taboos trampled, helplessness hammered by Hayes commands, hope's helix, heists of hearth news, feigned freedoms filched. Shame's script, slurs scrawled, servility staged. Enslaved enforcers eroded esprit, revolts root rot. Whispers of defiance, resistance in the ruins. Yet chains chafed, sagas slight the sly, poisons purloined from physic's purse, mimicking malaise, infanticide inscribed in interdictions, slavery's seed spurned. Relics reclaimed, runes rogue, rosaries recessed, refrains in rogue tongues, Gaelic griefs, Latin litanies lulling little ears. Alliances arcane, aliments aligned, arrears amassed. Suicides stark, sepulchres suggesting self-slaughter, statutes stanching the stream. Blood of the bound, children in the fracture. Thrall wombs wove woes weft, progeny patrilineally perilous, mothers mark marring. Households haunted, half-sibs have by hierarchy, mothers mauled and minors gaze. Sire's softness soured sons, tuition in thrall ties, toys tainted. Legit's loathing lashed legacies, lore's lockout locked low. Manumissions maybe, freed but fettered, Lacingi's slur, strictures stinging. Silk roads of sorrow, the global grind. Thralls threaded trade's tapestry, Irish to Iceland's veins Celtic veined, Russ rivulets to Rum's repositories, hundreds herded. Meds marts melded, Andalus albinos, Ravenna's readers, Genoese guild girls. Tycoons trafficked, tallies tallied, tariffs traded, dinars, bezants, hack silver hefted gainst teeth trove scales. Credits cashed, cargoes covered, slavery's spurred a silver savvy. Twilight of the thralls, echoes endure. Christianity's creep corroded but conserved, creeds curb on coreligionists coy, conversions curbed to clasp claims. Thralls transmuted to tenantry, landlocked, lashlight, but liberties lie. Manumissions miserly, service serfdom, spawn spare not. Stigma stalked, bans on bonds, brides barred, beggary baked in. Tongues tether trauma, Ambat's arsenal, Saeda's stain, Dea's drudge, Edda's effacement, Edaic euphemisms. Irish inks inveigh, Viking vocab vexed, verses veiled in veil laments. Placards proclaim, Theater's thrall trails, Jean's groaning Gaelic in thralltopes. Veils of vanity, myths unmasked. Modern minstrels mask the mire, screens shield savagery, shield maidens spotlighting sands the shadowed hordes. Scandinavia sidesteps, saga fests sands surfs, museums mum on manacles. Jean's gamely gloss, Viking vaunt veiling victim veins. Scholarship schemes, slaves as sidebar, not spine. Reckoning's requiem, the unhealed wound. Quantify the quiet cataclysm, hundreds of thousands, no, millions, women winnowed, worlds withered for wealth's wake. Jean's graph the graft, Europe's essence etched in erasure. Economies engorged, keels carved from captive coin, clans crown on crushed hopes. Psyches scarred, raids specters spawning suspicion's seed, slavers sinceering souls. Fate's fault lines fissured, theodicy's thorns, why such woe under watchful skies? Oppression's offspring outlived, serfdom's shackles, stigma's shadow. Vikings, voyagers, vendors, vandals, versifiers, yet vendors of veiled horrors, hierarchies honed on hurt. Elfgeofa's abbey lies lichen-laced, bells but breeze. Her thread lost in the weave, Dublin's docket. Norway's nook. Ransom's reprieve, yet the warp endures, bazaar's bones and digs, defiance's dregs and runes, daughter's DNA in Draugr-descended folk. This wasn't frenzy's fringe, but foundation's filth, trafficking's tide turning tides of time, mundane made monstrous by method. Worse than wild tales, for its weave was worldly, erasure economic, violation veiled as venture. Europe's medieval marrow bears the bruise, anxieties ancestral, inequities inbred. The captured crave chronicle, not commiseration's crumb. Their grit, unscribed, unbowed, gleams in gaps, glyphs grazed by ghost fingers, griefs growled and gospels groan. They forged from fetter what foes could not filch, humanity's stubborn spark. If this veil lifting leaves you lingering in history's half-light, another abyss awaits, truth's tombs tried to tomb. Tap the tale unfolding now, shadows stir once more. And if these silenced symphonies stir your soul, subscribe, let's limn the lost together. Their echoes demand it. The untold? Unquenched till uttered,